Why did the men of Shechem turn against Abimelech? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Judges on Walking Through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing Judges 9, verses 22 to 33, but before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to Judges chapter 9, verse 22, but if you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Judges chapter 9, beginning at verse 22. After Abimelech had reigned over Israel 3 years, God sent a spirit of ill will between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. And the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech, that the crime done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might be settled, and their blood be laid on Abimelech, their brother, who killed them, and on the men of Shechem, who aided him in the killing of his brothers. And the men of Shechem set men in ambush against him on the tops of the mountains, and they robbed all who passed by them along that way. And it was told Abimelech. Now Gaal the son of Ebed came with his brothers and went over to Shechem. And the men of Shechem put their confidence in him. So they went out into the fields and gathered grapes from their vineyards and trod them and made merry. And they went into the house of their God and ate and drank and cursed Abimelech. Then Gaal the son of Ebed said, Who is Abimelech and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is he not the son of Jerubbaal, and is not Zebul his officer? Serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem, but why should we serve him? If only this people were under my authority, then I would remove Abimelech. So he said to Abimelech, Increase your army and come out. When Zebul, the ruler of the city, heard the words of Gaal, the son of Ebed, his anger was aroused. And he sent messengers to Abimelech secretly, saying, Take note, Gaal, the son of Ebed, and his brothers have come to Shechem, and here they are fortifying the city against you. Now therefore, get up by night, you and the people who are with you, and lie in wait in the field. And it shall be, as soon as the sun is up in the morning, that you shall rise early and rush upon the city. And when he and the people who are with him come out against you, you may then do to him as you find opportunity. Abimelech, the son of Gideon, by his concubine in Shechem, has through his crafty political maneuvering convinced the men of Shechem to make him king. Abimelech then hired some men who, along with him, killed all his brothers so that they wouldn't challenge his kingship. Only one of his brothers survived, a man by the name of Jotham. In our last lesson, Jotham told the men of Shechem a fable which warned them about the type of man they were in league with. He wasn't an olive tree, a fig tree, or grapevine that would produce for them good fruit. He was a bramble, a prickly shrub that would provide them no shade and had the potential of destroying them. If what they and Abimelech did was right, then they should rejoice in each other, for basically, they deserved each other. However, if what they did was wrong, then Jotham said, May Abimelech destroy you, and you destroy him. It is this curse that will begin to come to pass in today's reading. Verse 22 said that 3 years have passed. If we assume that Abimelech was made king soon after Gideon's death, then that will bring our timeline in Judges down to about 1141 BC. From the text, it appears that Abimelech is no longer living in Shechem proper, but where he is exactly we do not know. It is also said that he reigned over Israel. Earlier in the chapter, it is only said that the men of Shechem and the surrounding areas made him king over them. But what likely happened is that afterwards Abimelech's influence extended further out from there to such an extent that it is said that he reigned over Israel, though it is still doubtful that he reigned over the entire land of Canaan, and being more likely that he reigned over much of northern Israel. And again, this reign would not be like that of Saul, David, or Solomon, but rather having dominion and influence. At the end of 3 years, though, verse 23 says that the relationship between Abimelech and the men of Shechem soured. Why? Because God sent a spirit of ill will between them, so that the crime of killing Gideon's children could be avenged. In doing this, God didn't make these men evil against their will. They were already evil. They served idols. They were sneaky and treacherous, and they were murderers. With characters like this, anger, mistrust, and discord are the natural byproducts. The first thing that happened was that the men of Shechem set men in the mountains to ambush passers-by to rob them. Remember, Shechem is located between Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, so people coming into the area could be traversing those mountains. Whether or not the men of Shechem were hoping to catch Abimelech or simply destabilize his rule, we're unsure, but word did get back to Abimelech that this was going on. Then we have Gael, the son of Ebed, getting involved. We don't know where this man came from, but what we do know is that he is an agitator who came to Shechem with his brothers seeking that they put their confidence in him, and he would rid them of Abimelech. The men of Shechem gladly did this, and during a drunken feast in the temple of their god, Gael made his move. He posed to them a question: who is Abimelech, and who is Shechem that they should serve him? Now this might sound confusing until we realize that Gael is using Shechem in this instance as a stand-in for Abimelech, for Abimelech used his relationship to Shechem in order to win over the people 3 years prior. Israel said something similar to Rehoboam in 1 Kings 12:16. Gael here is calling into question Abimelech's heritage, for he says that in actuality Abimelech should be counted as Gideon's son from the tribe of Manasseh and not a child of Shechem. Why not then cast off Abimelech and go back to serving the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem, one of the major leaders in the city's history? We met Hamor back in Genesis 34 in the incident of Dinah, daughter of Jacob. This charge is meant to turn the men of Shechem against Abimelech, and it worked. Gael went even further by challenging the leadership of Zebul, who was an officer of Abimelech. Guilt by association, then. Gael then said, if only I was in charge, I would remove Abimelech. Thus Abimelech was going to be challenged to bring out his army and fight. Now Zebul, the ruler of the city, heard all this and quietly sent word back to Abimelech as to what was going on. He told Abimelech to come with the people with him by night, and when the morning came, to rush the city and take it by surprise. And when Gael's men came out to fight against Abimelech, Abimelech may have dealt with them as he had opportunity. This sounded like good advice. We'll find out how well it works, beginning, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Judges chapter 9, verses 34 to 41, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.